Joe Biden is not getting away that easy. This man is getting put on blast after his last-minute flurry of pardons, including Hunter Biden, his family, Anthony Fauci, and much more. You guys have got to see this for yourself.
That's the pardons President Biden did at the last minute.
Well, I'm not going to discuss it now. I think it was unfortunate that he did that. We won't discuss it now. There's plenty of time to discuss it.
At 11:41 today, Judge, Joe Biden pardoned many of his family members, preemptive pardons. This is in addition to all the other pardons he had done around 11 a.m. And it's my contention, my belief that President Trump didn't know about these because they announced them after he had already walked into the rotunda. And it is quite brazen. And I think Democrats are going to have a hard time answering it. So let's start with you, and then we'll see how Harold does.
Well, it's very interesting, and to me it was stunning, although there's certainly been rumors about this, that Joe Biden decides that he's going to pardon pretty much all of his family, you know, the members, Harold, of the Biden crime syndicate, his brother Joe and his son, and I think some in-laws, Mark Milley, Anthony Fauci, preemptive pardon. Meaning they aren't charged with anything, but we're going to tie the hands of the next attorney general to make sure that she, does not indict anyone. But I think what's so stunning is that the justification for this, Dana, where the statement from the Biden White House was, these people do not deserve to be targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. The only people who have been victims of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions are the Republicans who have suffered at the hands of a weaponized Biden Justice Department. And they then add that these pardons shouldn't be mistaken as an acknowledgement that they've engaged in any wrongdoing. And yet the same Biden administration is objecting to any pardoning of the J6 hostages by saying that, well, if Trump gives them a pardon, it's got to be an admission of guilt. I mean, it's typical hypocrisy that and I'm sure most of America will be happy to get rid of going forward because we don't have to deal with that hypocrisy anymore. But the shame of this is that it is a recognition that that there is and was a possibility of, based on James Comer alone, there was enough evidence to indict based upon what he uncovered, but James Comer didn't have access to Merrick Garland's Department of Justice. So the evidence is there. They knew it. They have to stop it.
Anthony Fauci had the audacity to tweet, "I will accept this pardon, however, I did nothing wrong whatsoever." How about if you're so confident you did nothing wrong, Fauci, how about you prove that in an open court? How about you prove that you did not lie under oath? This man is an absolute fraud, and he deserves to see his day in court. Because what Joe Biden did, he just gave him a blanket pardon from 2014 onwards, which is when he started working for President Obama in Ukraine, working on bioweapons. And also, talking about January 6th, these people have not suffered enough. 4 years in prison without a single day in court. These people were held there and they did nothing wrong. They were walking between the velvet ropes in the Capitol. Are you kidding me? How can you possibly compare Anthony Fauci and all the harm that he did to this nation versus people who were just walking inside the Capitol, peacefully protesting?
Way.
Well, I don't think Democrats will have to defend. I think President Biden will. This power that the president has, and every president has it while in office, to pardon people is the most sweeping authority, the most unchecked authority, because you can't reverse it. The only thing that can reverse it is if the people commit another crime. The real precedent here, I think the January 6th comparison, there will be those if President Trump pardons some of the January 6th or all of them. There will be people saying, well, you should not have pardoned your family. I think the real precedent here, Judge, is that these are pre-pardons.
Yep, preemptive,
and
absolutely.
Basically what happens is you set a precedent for every president to perhaps give a pre-pardon to friends or family or those he's close to. I think the insult to injury around this one is that President Biden, when he was asked repeatedly, will you pardon your son Hunter, said no. Then he decided at the last minute to do it, which was fine if you just said, hey, I'm going to pardon my son. But when you add to it, he's been prosecuted selectively, or he was singled out. I think that's what gave people a little bit of a bad taste. I've gotten a lot of texts today, when Dana and I were on this morning, from Democrat, Republican friends alike, who did not like this, thought it would leave a bad taste in the mouths of people. Now, sometimes you eat something you don't like, and the taste goes away once you eat something you do like. So maybe people will forget this. I think the real thing here is the precedent. Do you now say to presidents, when you're leaving office, you can pre-pardon or precondition pardons for friends and for family if you think they may be singled out for some reason by the next administration? I hope that's not the precedent, but I think that, to me, Judge, that stands out more than anything else.
Jesse, there was, I mean, you covered it quite a bit in terms of James Biden and Hunter Biden were quite simpatico.
Right, and any investigation was blocked into the family at all corners. And so it looks really suspicious to preemptively do that, and it looks slimy. And to go out in the final hours issuing pardons to your entire family just looks disgusting.
With 19 minutes to go.
It's so dirty and just the perfect ending to the Biden administration. Fauci's pardon's bizarre because it's backdated to 2014. And in 2014, that's when he began the gain of function research, which leads me to believe maybe COVID-19 was a Fauci baby. We already know he trained the people in China on how to do gain of function. We knew he funded that lab, but this specific strain, that leads me to believe that there's something more to uncover. It makes me highly suspicious. I don't get Milley. I don't understand why all of a sudden he gets a pardon, Cheney, Kinzinger, and I need to know whether they lobbied for these pardons, because that's important, or if any money changed hands, because you know the Biden family's very easy to...
Forget about it. My hunch is telling me there's definitely money involved. Joe Biden was handing out pardons left and right. He had exponentially more presidential pardons than any other president in history. I think he had 10 times more than Donald Trump had in the previous term. And the thing about it is, Joe Biden recognized what he is doing is wrong. Because why else would you wait the last 19 minutes of your presidency to carry out these actions? If he didn't think anything was wrong, why didn't you do it day one of your presidency? Why are you waiting till you're already gone, out of the public eye? He knows what he did is wrong and should not have been done. It is an abuse of power. It's a shame we let such a sleazy person enter the Oval Office.
And 5 family members, 4 of whom we've never really even heard of. So that was to make it appear that he was not protecting one. It was like, I'm doing all these people, but it was really about his brother.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like that episode of Murder, She Wrote, where this guy poisons a bunch of people, so it's not like he just poisoned his wife, so then it throws the scent off him. You remember that episode?
That was like Law and Order, too.
Yeah, it was Law and Order. They just assumed that would throw us off the stench. But you're right. It does stink. This isn't a bad look. This is scummy. The final act of a scoundrel is literally a stink bomb thrown as you exit the building. And, accepting the pardon, is that accepting guilt? I say yes. I really do. And is Adam Kinzinger going to refuse the pardon because he said he didn't want one? And I do think that regardless of pardons, you still investigate. It doesn't say you can't investigate, especially with Fauci. I mean, you know what? If you can't throw him in jail, at least make it so that he's forever known for what he did. And that's the same thing with the Jan 6 committee. Maybe they won't go to jail, but we got to find out exactly what they knew and what they hid.
So Rand Paul could bring Fauci in.
Yeah, yeah.
And he has to talk, right?
Yeah.
He has to talk.
Yes.
And he has no reason not to. He's pardoned.
Right.
Yeah, there's no fifth anymore.
Right.
Reporting on President Biden's pardoning of his family members, it happened officially in the last 15 minutes. President Trump, was meeting with President Biden at the White House and then took that drive. Did he know by the time he got to that stage that Biden had pardoned his family members?
I didn't ask him about exactly when he knew, but really this is President Trump's day. Anything for Joe Biden to do that, I thought that was nonsense. We've had 4 years of disaster with Joe Biden. Now let's get back to success, and that's what we started doing.
And so the signings, they're already happening, right?
So the president started signing some things there in the Capitol, and then he'll be heading over to the Cap One Arena, downtown Washington. There'll be some additional signings, and then some of the bigger ones that have been talked about. That'll happen at the White House a little bit later today. So actually will be 3 different sets of signings that the president will do it. We've never seen this happen this fast before, but that's Trump time.
Jason, let me ask you one more question. He talked about North Carolina specifically, and he talked about California specifically. We understand he's going to go to California on Friday. What is going to look different at this point with his involvement?
Well, first, when he steps in, I can't speak on behalf of the president on this one because obviously they have the government now is an official government, but the president's going to be responsive to it right away. I think it's absolutely shameful. Joe Biden's handling, as we saw with North Carolina, that the president referenced. Same thing with California.
Britt Hume, just bring you back into this conversation as we're talking about the pardons and other thoughts of the day as we're digesting all that's happening.
Well, I think the pardons are a big story today, and I think waiting till, 11:45 before he issued these final ones was in part to avoid them becoming the big story of the day, but there's no getting around it. This is extraordinary, and the president can protest the outgoing president can protest all he wants about how he's afraid of retribution from Donald Trump and the dishonest Justice Department. But in the end, people are going to look at those pardons and they're going to say, well, there must be something wrong there, something legal that they're afraid of, or he wouldn't have pardoned all these people. And I think, it's hard to analyze this. We can't see any prosecutions, so we'll probably never know whether there could have been any. But it shows you how deeply divided the country is, how so badly divided the country is that as an outgoing administration leaves, its leaders think that people who were either part of their cause, part of their side, or went along with it, might be prosecuted. That's a bad place for a country to be in, and let's hope this doesn't have to happen again.
The only reason Joe Biden did these pardons in my mind is because they did something wrong. They broke the law. They must have. Because if they were completely innocent in all of this, there would be no pardons for his family, for Anthony Fauci, for any of these people. Because they would want to vindicate themselves in a courtroom. And the thing about Donald Trump is, he's not vindictive. He doesn't just want to lock someone up in jail because they're his political enemy. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton. All of the alleged crimes that she has committed, yet Donald Trump chose to let it all go for the betterment of this country. And he would do it again for Joe Biden, for Kamala Harris, for anybody. But they know this time around, he's going to look into what actually happened with COVID. He's going to find out the origins of this pandemic. And I guess they are scared of what he might find. I guess these people don't even want to worry about it. If you ask me, these pardons calls for greater investigations into the origins of the COVID pandemic because it just shows they have a guilty conscience and they are scared of what he may find. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Do you think that Joe Biden had the authority to issue that many pardons? Did he have the right to do so? And do you think he should have done so? Let me know. I'd love to know your opinions. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.